Hello, my name is Luke Abraham, and this is Reflection One. We'll get started right away. So I have my pie chart here. These are going to be my 5 skills that an engineer in design must, or I think are most important. I gotta hold my tablet in a way you can see it with the reflection. So you kind of see that light blue there. That's gonna be your biggest at 30%. That's gonna be knowledge and competence. In orange there at the top, well, there we go. We've got creative and critical thinking. The kind of the dark one there is communication for 20%. Orange is also 20%. The yellow is collaboration and leadership, and that's also 20%. And the smallest in red there is project. So we'll jump straight into those. Communication. So 20% I had it at. It's really important to be able to communicate your ideas with others, basically. You need to communicate to ensure safe practices within the design process. If you don't communicate your ideas, you're not going to be able to create things, to innovate new things. So that's really important as well. It's also really important to communicate unethical engineering decisions and practices made by others, and that kind of hits the code of ethics because it's part of your obligation as an engineer. As well, being able to present clearly to employers and clients about possible consequences if engineering decisions and judgments are overruled or disregarded. That's number 6 in the code of ethics there. Collaboration and leadership. That's going to be our second one. I had this also at 20%. It's just being able to work with people around you. Within the design process, you're going to be working with others. You're going to be collaborating. If you can't work with others, you're not going to be able to do anything. It is so important to be able to work with others and kind of bridge your understanding, bridge your thinking, and create new things. That's how in today's world we have so many amazing things. It's because people come together and work together and collaborate. And so that's why it's important, I think. Um, this accountability, and so you have accountability with your peers and coworkers, and with this accountability, you can kind of help each other reinforce your code of ethics and roles as a professional engineer within the design process. At 10%, I have project management. So I had this lowest. It's still important. I think it's when you're in a design project, it's very important you're professional, can have all your steps labeled out. It's going to be kind of everything you're doing, and obviously you're going to be going back. You're going to be doing the creating, testing, going back to creating and designing. It's obviously a big loop, but it's important to know where you're going. This kind of makes you. Otherwise, you're going to miss steps. You're going to miss safety steps. You're going to miss important steps that you wouldn't have otherwise known. If you have it all in writing, you can go back and you understand what's happening. And this kind of holds the paramount safety of the public. So for the code of ethics, more better well your project is managed within the lab, the more likely it's going to be good for the safety of the public. Competence and knowledge. So this was my biggest piece of the pie. This was 30%. It's just kind of your fundamentals of engineering, which is just kind of the numbers for math, physics, chemistry. I think this is most important because if you're creating a bridge, say, and you think, you know what, this bridge is going to hold 400 people, but 300 people are there and your numbers were wrong and that bridge collapses, that's not good, obviously. So this kind of also hits with competence and knowledge, offering services only in areas of competence and practice. So if you're a chemical engineer, you're not going to go build a bridge. It's not outside your competence. And that's part of the code of ethics. So it's important that you don't do that. Okay, yeah, we'll head out of here right away. Sorry, just ignore that. Um, Last one is creative and critical thinking. You must be able to come up with kind of new ideas and designs. Because without these, you're not going to be able to create new things for the design process. As an engineer, you have to think critically about new things and be able to kind of move forward and put new ideas within the design process. You're always going back to innovating, and without this critical thinking, you're not going to get there. Um, you can also have to think about how this item can be used kind of in other ways. Kind of an example is like the treadmill. If you make a really good treadmill, but you don't think about kind of what happens if someone falls and there's no kind of safety thing, you kind of got to be creative and critical on thinking of like the harms that could happen. Because then that's not going to hurt the public. That's not a good code of ethics kind of situation there. You gotta present clearly to employers and clients the possible consequences if engineering decisions or judgments are overruled. And that's just kind of more for the critical thinking how they can be overruled. So my biggest strength is collaboration. I played sports all my life. I know what it's like to work with others. I think I'm very good at it. Um, I kind of points I wrote down is I'm super good with people. I think they may not think the same, but I think so. I do good, hard, honest work. Um, and I don't let my teammates down. It's like sports. I'm not going to let them down. I'm going to work my ass off for them and do whatever I can. Something I want to get better with. My communication. I think it is really bad. It's part of the reason I'm speaking this, because my writing's even worse than my speaking, but they're still not good. But besides the point, I'm just not really good at kind of giving up my ideas. Something's the things I say just sometimes don't make sense. I have a Michael Scott quote here. I'll read it for you if you watch The Office. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation, an improvisation. So I thought that really related to me because that's exactly what I do. So my SMART goal for this, the specific part, I just wrote improve my writing and speaking skills when talking in a professional manner. So basically, when I'm kind of locked in and I'm doing professional stuff in engineering and in the lab, I want to be very clear and concise about what I'm doing. Measurable, I think it's kind of measurable for my grades in my CPST class. Basically, because a lot of that is professional writing. So if I'm obviously improving, I think my grades will go up in that class. Achievable, I think it absolutely is achievable. I have plenty of resources that I use to get better at that, and I'll get there in a second. Relevant, absolutely. Time bound, I kind of said throughout this semester, but in all honesty, it's something I always want to be working on. I want to get better at it. It's something throughout my whole life I want to be improving because it's so important to be able to communicate with others, both as an engineer in the design lab and just in general. So the resources I was saying earlier, things like the Writing Center, I know you can go there, get great help. I should absolutely be going there more often to kind of get help with my work. And I'm going to start taking the steps to get there. Same with tutorials. I went to one of Ross's tutorials for my CPST class. Extremely helpful. I will be going again, and it's just kind of a tool I have. I should go. It'll help me. And also kind of talking with my peers. I want to start talking more, not more professionally, but like in a way that I'm thinking before I speak, so it's very clear and concise. Otherwise, I'll just start talking without a thought in my mind. And I think if I start working with, because I talk to them all the time, if I start improving my communication there, it's going to translate to the real world. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.